Yeah. And I wish I had those bird dogs on right now, along with that Yeti water bottle, because man, it is hot like that hooker on the front row. But
Yes,
anyway,
in
also we
church.
hope that it's going to be hot. The Benz come Sunday at 1 p.m. in the afternoon when the Falcons begin their 2023 campaign with a divisional matchup very early on in the season against Bryce Young and the Panthers. Now, you mentioned earlier that yes, this is year 3 of the Terry Fontenot, Arthur Smith regime. This is the year where Arthur Blank has made it clear that he's looking for big dividends. He's looking for big payoffs with all of the things that they were finally able to do, stacking it, right? Releasing those players that did not fit the regime, right?
Mhm.
Bringing in a new defensive coordinator who is really he looks like he's going to be really solid as a replacement for the retiring Dean Pease. So you start to shore up your staff, if you will, on the sidelines, and you go out in the offseason and you get the likes of Caden Ellis and Jesse Bates III, and of course, Calais Campbell. And then you find a player in Bijan Robinson who arguably can be generational. Okay, Jarvis. So now we got all the pieces of the puzzle together. And that then begs the question, does it mean now that particularly Arthur Smith is under pressure, maybe more so than we've seen him under, to get not just a winning season under his belt, but more importantly, to start it off right with a win on Sunday?
Yeah, absolutely. I wholeheartedly agree that there is some pressure. It's something boiling. You know what I mean? And not necessarily from a negative standpoint to where he's going to get fired. No, I'm not saying that.
No.
But there, like the way this thing is setting up, I really feel like there is the Falcons should win this game, and Arthur Smith, it has to do well. Like he has to use those weapons because, like we talked about, three consecutive pass catchers being drafted in the first round. You're going super young on the offensive side of the football, and getting all of this talent, accumulating all this talent, spending some money on this side of the football. So I think that it's up to Arthur Smith to be able to go out there and execute. Not only, and he can't do it by himself, the players have to go out there and play. He can come up with an excellent game plan, but if those guys don't go out there and execute, you're gonna have some issues. And I think that Arthur Smith is going to do everything possible to set everyone up to go out there and make plays. But I really feel like the pressure is a little different because I feel like Arthur Blank spilled the beans. Like, hey, they gave me a 3-year plan and this is year 3, so the salary cap. Everybody was cool with the whole salary cap being an issue, but there is a thing called NFL draft, which you can get better that way too because there's a set amount for those guys that every year that's in your salary cap that you have to account for. So, but that's a whole nother conversation. We're not gonna get into that today. But I really feel like there is, with that that moniker in place, or with that plan being outed like that. Like, yes, absolutely, yeah, you have to come in and they have to get this dub not only today, but as the season goes along, they have to build towards winning the NFC South to get into the playoffs, because I really feel like that's the only way they're going to get into the playoffs, if they win the division.
Yeah, I think so as well. And if you look at the schedule kind of in thirds, if you will, this is a great opportunity for them to come out of the gates because they get 2 home games, of course, against the Panthers and then against the Packers. In my opinion, that should be 2-0, no question. But as we saw last night, the Lions are a very, let's say, formidable opponent, but also they take advantage of opportunities, right? So
Right.
yeah. And you saw every chance that the Chiefs made mistakes, they pretty much took advantage of it. So it's going to be a challenge for the Falcons to go up to Detroit and come back with a dub there. And then to follow that, they're headed to London to play the Jacksonville Jaguars, whom everyone thinks is one of those top teams in the AFC. We don't know. The Texans are kind of like a toss-up, if you will. I'd still think that's a winnable game, by the way. I think that's a W. And then the Commanders, well, we all know the challenges that they faced against the Commanders last season. And the
Right.
Commanders have gotten just a little bit better. So it's going to be interesting to see what that looks like. So I agree. To me, this is an opportunity because let's face it, your whole division is an opportunity. I mean, I'm not trying to be funny, but you really could go 6-0. Like, your division is that shaky, that unknown, QBs that everybody's looking at, especially down in Tampa. Like, what in the world is going on? So yeah, I think the pressure is there because you have everything at your footsteps, like right at your feet,
Right.
everything right there for you to be able to make a run and win the division, and arguably even escape with a win in the postseason. But it all starts with what they do on Sunday, and it all starts with the preparation of matchups. DeMarco Hellams had an interesting comment when he was asked about Bryce Young, and he just chuckled because he was like, "Yeah, he's a competitive guy. I went, of course, up against him in practice, but he's good. But I'm also good, and I feel like I have the opportunity to show what I can do. Just like it's an opportunity for him because he said Bryce Young never backs down from a challenge." So I love the fact that he acknowledges what Bryce Young is, that he hits different when he plays, but that, hey, I'm bringing something special to the table as well. So that said, we might not see that matchup per se, like person to person, but what matchups are you looking for where you're saying, okay, this is an opportunity for somebody to show and prove that they are better on the Falcons side of the ball?
I think the entire Falcons offensive line against Derrick Brown. That's where I'm at with it, T. Like that's how I feel, because here's the thing. Like, we understand, like, yeah, they were a number 3 rushing team in the league last year, one of the better offensive line from a great how they graded out, throughout the season last year. Get it? Yeah, from running the football specifically. Yeah, I like Derrick Brown embarrassed y'all last year. Like, I want to see that. I want to see what they're able to do. Can they minimize him? I'm not saying stop him, shut him down. Can they minimize him? Like, can he not have double-digit tackles? As an interior defensive lineman, can we not see that again? So that's the biggest matchup / challenge. I guess I'm challenging them, calling them out. Like, I guess that's how I'm feeling today. But those are some of the things that you have to really look at, how that works out. If we aren't hearing Derrick Brown's name being called that much in that first half, that means the Falcons are doing something right. And I think that's going to be something that I'm definitely have my eye on, because we all know what his capabilities are. Seeing him coming out of Auburn in the SEC, we're very familiar with Derrick Brown's work. So, and he made sure he reminded us last year when he played against the Falcons on both occasions.
Now, speaking of a Brown and a matchup that I'm interested in seeing, and this is going to go a little off the beaten path, but it'll be Thomas Brown, as in the Panthers OC, versus Ryan Nielsen, the Falcons DC. I want to see what that chess match looks like, especially in the second half, because they're both new, right? So Thomas Brown being new, this is his first season with the Panthers as an OC, coming from the Rams, and of course, Nielsen coming from the Saints. That's the chess match that I'm kind of interested in seeing. For example, going back to what you said, if the defensive line shows like we think the defensive front is going to show for the Falcons, how is Thomas Brown going to come back and say, oh, okay, well, do I have to show and prove and get Miles Sanders more involved because the Falcons are able to bring that pressure and Bryce Young can't get set? Or is it that Bryce Young is going to be quite fine where he is, and Ryan Nielsen is going to have to say, hey, Miles Sanders did his thing, so now we got to look at Bryce Young, or vice versa, and say, whoa, Bryce Young is doing his thing, so maybe they're going to go more to their ground game and try to push that in the second half. Be interesting to see the chess match there. Or flip side, if things aren't going so well and Thomas Brown has to figure it out, it's going to be interesting to see what he's able to do to say, hey, my quarterback's been under pressure. They have either gotten home more than I thought they were going to get home from the Falcons' perspective, or they've at least been able to affect his passing game. I'm looking for the chess match, looking to see what those coordinators are able to do.
I think you make a great point with Ryan Nielsen, because I think he kind of gets forgotten about. Like, we talked about Matt Olson earlier and how he gets forgotten about with all the extra storylines and Bijan Robinson and all that stuff, because there are so many other stories that are more interesting to the public eye, right? But I think that when you think about, like, this is going to be his second time calling plays, literally calling plays for himself, as a defensive coordinator. He did it in college. I think it was at Central Connecticut State or something like that. So random stat there. And then he was the co-defensive coordinator for the Saints. So, we all know Dennis Allen wasn't going to relinquish those duties. So he was able to do that. So now it's kind of like, all right, we know that you've had, the co-title before, and we know that you have called the plays before, but it's been a little minute. So I think that after that first series, I'm really interested to see how that first series goes. And then like you said, that chess match. What type of adjustments do we make? And I think that our guy, Jerry Gray, he's going to be a very good asset for the Falcons for Ryan Nielsen to lean on, because we all know Jerry Gray has seen all and done all when it comes to being a defense coordinator in the NFL.
Yeah. So listen, everydayers, let us know what your thoughts are. Do you think that the pressure is on Arthur Smith right out of the gates to win this game, and what the fallout might be if for some reason the Falcons don't win this game? Also, what matchups are you looking forward to? Let us know by dropping a comment in the chat on YouTube. And of course, we appreciate you supporting ATL Day Ones from day one. So keep doing it and downloading this podcast today, wherever you download your podcast.